So I know that there's an impeachment hearing going on. And why should we talk about anything else? Why in the world should we talk about anything else? I mean, that's just, man, Trump's bad. Trump's bad. And how can we possibly talk about anything else? Well, because the government is still functioning while these impeachment hearings are going on. And you're going to get the sound bites later. You're going to hear about how Pelosi had this amazing moment where she talked about how she doesn't hate anybody. You're going to hear these testimonies kind of rehashing all the stuff that's been going on for the past few years. But other things are going on in the meantime. And here's something that's going on. We're going to go over to Fight for the Future here. Live now. This is from a little bit ago, earlier this morning. So this was from today, as of the recording of this, but it was earlier this morning. In April, the House passed the Save the Internet Act to restore net neutrality. Today, senators will use a unanimous consent request to demand a vote on the bill. Tell senators to support net neutrality by backing the Save the Internet Act. So here's what happened here. First of all, we have had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. I'll repeat that again. We have had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. It was assumed protection that all the cable companies adhere to. And what net neutrality does, it assures that all the traffic on the internet is treated equally. You cannot have paid prioritization for different content providers. You cannot provide fast lanes and slow lanes designated for consumers. You can't do that. So people assume net neutrality protections. Now, one day, big cable decided, wait a second, we shouldn't legally have to do this. Screw this. So they took it to court and they won. But what the court said was, okay, technically these companies don't have to adhere by net neutrality laws. Net neutrality was just something that you didn't have officially on the books, FCC, and now it's finally biting you. But what you can do is if you designate the internet a utility, give it a Title II designation that designates it a utility like flowing water or electricity, then you can have net neutrality protections. And ISPs will have to follow net neutrality. So basically, you lost this court case, but there's a really easy thing you can do to get net neutrality protection. And Tom Wheeler, keep in mind, Tom Wheeler was a cable lobbyist himself. He didn't really want to do that. He was like, I don't know if that's necessary, because I used to be a cable lobbyist. But the public said, oh no, we want net neutrality. You're doing it, Tom Wheeler. And they crashed the FCC's website. It was just one website. They crashed the FCC's website with comments until Tom Wheeler agreed, okay, I got to do this. Barack Obama also did pressure Tom Wheeler to do the right thing at the 11th hour. And then we got net neutrality officially on the books. This was in about 2015. Then in 2017, Ajit Pai repealed net neutrality. He just repealed it. And that opened the lane for big cable, to slowly create a post-net neutrality world, which they're doing. I know everyone's like, well, the internet's the same, Ron. It's tomorrow. The internet's still the same. Yeah, it's going to be a slow boil. It's not like they're just going to completely change the internet as you know it overnight. That'd be nuts. It's going to be a slow boil. And you're going to see slow, for instances, of them seeing what they can get away with. Like here in California, when the firefighters weren't able to transmit data as easily as they needed to because of what Verizon was doing. Now, that could have happened even in a world with net neutrality. But in a post-net neutrality world, there's no accountability for something like that happening. In a net neutrality world, Verizon could be held liable. Big cable could be held liable. But without net neutrality, whatever. That's just how it works. Tough cookies. I don't care if you're fighting a wildfire. So that's where we're at currently. The Save the Internet Act was a 3-page bill. And it just said, hey, remember those rules we got on the books in 2015 that designates the internet a public utility? We're going back to that. We're just putting it back. No strings attached. We're putting it back. And this passed the House. And they're trying to force a vote in the Senate. The Senate is blocking it. So what happened today? Well, let's go through Fight for the Future's timeline, all right? So live now, this is where it started. In April, the House passed the Save the Internet Act to restore net neutrality. Today, senators will use a unanimous consent request to demand a vote on the bill. The Senate is discussing the Save the Internet Act to restore net neutrality, but there's a lot more work to be done. We need you with us. And you can go to battleforthenet.com, by the way, to learn more about this and to help Fight for the Future out with their efforts. We're going to keep up the fight to protect consumers from Ajit Pai and the Trump FCC. This is Senator Ron Wyden, who spoke on the floor. He spoke along with Senator Markey and Senator Cantwell, demanding a vote on the Save the Internet Act to restore net neutrality. We are on the right side of history on the issue. That's true. Net neutrality champion Senator Markey on the Senate floor right now, demanding a vote on the Save the Net Act. This has already passed the House. Now, here's the Senate's biggest telecom shill. You know what I love about Fight for the Future? They do not mince words, and they take their gloves off when they need to. That's what I love about Fight for the Future. That's why I've collaborated with them in the past, and I hope to collaborate with them again on the future. And I'm a big fan of the organization. One of the many reasons why I'm a big fan of that organization. The Senate's biggest telecom shill, Senator Wicker, who will block a vote on net neutrality on behalf of his donors at Comcast, Verizon, AT&T. He's making the same tired, debunked arguments he has for years, and it's embarrassing. I'd imagine he said something like, oh, competition, free market, blah, 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 which, again, it's an organized duopoly. There's no competition there. Free market, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing free about an organized duopoly that is price gouging you for internet access, something that all humans need at this point. And no one forgets Senator Sinema is not the only Democrat in the Senate that doesn't support the Save the Net Act. She's also formed a bogus working group with ISP shill Senator Wicker. Now, Senator Wicker's a Republican, but she's a Democrat. All right, so here's the final feedback from today. Here's the final piece of feedback from today. As expected, corrupt politicians Senator Wicker and Senator Sinema, a Democrat, Senator Sinema's a Democrat, blocked the Save the Net Act to restore net neutrality from coming to a vote today, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of voters from across the political spectrum want it to pass. So they blocked it. And I wasn't showing this to you the entire time. Great. Okay. Sorry about that. I was not showing this. Okay. So as expected, corrupt politicians Senator Wicker and Senator Sinema blocked the Save the Net Act to restore net neutrality from coming to a vote today, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of voters from across the political spectrum wanted to pass. All right. Sorry about that. I thought that was being shown to you guys, and it was not. I apologize. But we'll, here's the scroll. You can find this on Fight for the Future's Twitter, and you can go to battleforthenet.com to see more about this and to support their efforts. So that's what happened. They tried to bring it to a vote. They tried to bring it to heel, and the Senate said no. Now, why did the Senate say no? Well, because chances are this wouldn't pass a Republican-controlled Senate. Chances are it would. And chances are this would likely get vetoed by Trump. But what you're doing, if you force a vote, what you're really doing is you are forcing everyone to go on record going against net neutrality. Net neutrality has overwhelming support from over 80% of Americans. Over 80% of Americans support net neutrality. It has support from Republicans and Democrats alike. It has bipartisan support amidst voters. It has, people who are Republicans support net neutrality, people who are Democrats support net neutrality, people in between, all over the place support net neutrality. So they don't want to go on record as blatantly being like, here you are supporting big cable and not supporting people, not supporting the people who vote for you. They don't want to go on record doing that. That's why when we went to the Senate building, myself and Fight for the Future, we showed up at the Senate building to present a petition with 300 million signatures for Mitch McConnell. It was I think it was actually 3 million. Yeah, it wasn't. It was 3 million, not 300. Still a lot. Whatever. Yeah, it was 3 million. Sometimes your mind is going faster than your mouth, But he didn't show up, and nothing happened with it. And here they are blocking the vote again because the Republican-controlled Senate, they don't want to go on record going against net neutrality. So that's what happened today with the net neutrality event. And thank you, Fight for the Future, for covering that. All right.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron.